Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Today I have our new friend Timbo back because he actually texted me about a situation that happened, and it's something that we have been asked about but haven't personally experienced is discrimination in Ecuador, and it's something we want to try to talk about and get more exposure on. Without further ado, I'd like him to explain the entire situation and what he's experienced since he's been here.
Okay, well, thanks again for giving me this opportunity. So when I come to Ecuador, I wanted to, as much as possible, get in touch and connect with the Black community here, right? Through meeting people, through other people, I met a group of different activists, and I've been with them through different celebrations and different activism work, like marches and stuff like that. And there's just some stuff that I've noticed. First, I'll talk about the stuff that I've witnessed, and then stuff that happened to me personally. One of the things they're working on is they work with men in the criminal justice system, right? So this one guy in particular, he's being falsely accused for a crime that there's basically no evidence for it. The evidence is laughable. I'm not going to say the details of it on camera, but it's obvious racial profiling, and it's just because he's black. I had an opportunity to last week go to the courthouse and see the whole procedure, and the defense, what in the US you would call the DA, is asking for a ridiculously long sentence. But what's good is that there are people fighting on his and other behalf, and that it seems like it's not, we're not letting them win so easily. So that's the good thing about it. It was interesting seeing him in the, well, first of all, being in an Ecuadorian courthouse, not that much different in terms of aesthetics from it looks similar to like a classroom in the US. I think they just did like hearings there.
Yeah.
But just being in that environment, seeing the emotions, and right in the other room across from him, there was another black guy being tried. They wear orange jumpsuits, just like in the US. I don't know what he was there for, but just seeing all these black men there.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the for-profit prisons in the US.
Right.
So it was interesting experiencing that. This trip wasn't just like a regular vacation tourist trip.
Yeah,
so that's what I've witnessed, and I thought that was interesting. On two occasions, I'll talk about stuff that happened to me. Two occasions. Actually, first, before I talk about that, this activist woman, she was telling me that especially with young black men, same within North America, police and military like to harass them, search them, and sometimes even plant drugs on them.
right.
She could tell you more about that, but yeah, they plant drugs on them, and I've had experience 2 times. One time with the military, and then a second time recently with police. I'm going about my business, and they stop me, say they want to search me for stuff, and I'm always cautious. They told me that when they search you, never give them your bag, because they'll try and put something in there and say, well, we found that. Yeah, and that happened the first time. It was just across the street from here with the military. I didn't record it, but yeah, that's basically stop and frisk in New York.
Yeah.
And then the second time, I was down by the river. It was just a few days ago. Yeah, police are just riding by. I saw them watching me, but then they stopped. They came up to me, same stuff.
Yeah.
But this time I pulled out my camera and recorded it. And because I was recording it, and because in both situations, I think they realized that I was a foreigner. That's what helped me a bit.
Yeah.
If I was an Ecuadorian, it probably would have turned out much worse.
Yeah.
And if I didn't record it, it turned out much worse.
I'm gonna put the video up on the screen. I watched it, and I would like you to. I'm gonna play it here, and I'd like you to kind of tell me what they were saying that you understood, and what your response was.
Okay.
And as we do that, I'll have it up on the screen in the video.
Okay. So this is when I first started recording. They approached me, they were more aggressive.
Yeah.
And I guess so this is the mistake that the activist said I shouldn't have let them touch my bag.
Yeah.
which I didn't the first time, but this time, that's where he's asking me for my cedula, and I'm saying I'm not from here. Before this, I actually said in Spanish, I don't have time for your racism.
Right.
Because I basically confronted them about it. And then afterwards, I told them I'm not from here. And then they did the standard, oh, you know, we're just here for public safety. We're not racial profiling and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's what basically he's saying right now. And I'm scanning their body for any number. I didn't really see any.
Yeah, there's no badges.
But I see A plus and B plus, so that might mean something.
Right.
So this is where they're trying to save face. They realize I'm a foreigner and I'm recording. So they're like, oh no, on this street, November 3rd, 3rd of November, we're just here for making sure the place is safe and stuff like that. Their attitude completely changed.
Right.
When they saw me recording and they realized I'm a foreigner. So
yeah, like you said, that probably would have turned out completely different.
Yeah.
Had you not been a foreigner.
Yeah. And you see, that's by the broken bridge there.
Yeah.
So.
When you first informed me about this, you called me.
Yeah.
And we talked about it, and I told you that, like, it's interesting that we know someone who's experienced this, because in the 3 years, we've been here 3 years in a couple days, we haven't personally experienced anything like that.
Yeah.
And we didn't know anyone that experienced anything like that looked like us.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, in Salinas, they were way more of a police presence. There's a lot of like transit officers too.
Okay.
But, you know, military and national police, and they would literally look at us and not pay us any attention. Like, they might glance at us and we kept on moving. I don't know I know that culture is a little bit different between the coast and the mountains, and the way police work is. It was just odd seeing your experience, because in our experience, literally just left us alone. However, we understood that where we were in Salinas, we were like mostly on the Malecon, that the Afros who were there were mostly like from Colombia, and they were working. So we didn't really see them get harassed. You might see them get, kicked off the beach or whatever for selling merchandise. But otherwise, there were people out there, they were just having fun, and the police didn't pay them any attention. But of course, we have heard that it is a little more difficult for someone who's darker skinned. Yeah. Here in Ecuador, but we had no way to verify. We couldn't, we didn't see it for ourselves. So I think it's eye opening, obviously, for anyone, especially someone who might be even younger than you, or have a lot of tattoos or whatever. Like, that profiling, it can happen in this country, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other countries too. Yeah. But it's not just a free for all. You can come down here and do whatever you want, and think that no one's ever going to bother you. I don't want this is not meant to like discourage people from coming here, but I don't want, just like in Africa, I have spoken in the other video, I don't want people to come here with like a romanticized view of it. Right. Yeah, so that's basically why I'm saying this now. Yeah, no problem. Like I said, I think the worst thing that's happened to us is I don't know, just someone thinking that we work at a store that we don't work at, because we're there. Yeah. We don't have any bad experiences to speak of on our own, but it is good to know that these things happen, and kind of precautions you should take if you are in this country, or any country that's not your own, honestly. The precautions to take when you interact with police and military, especially in a place that's known to have, some drug trafficking or other crimes going on. Just, you can't have that Western attitude, the North American attitude of, well, I can go wherever I want and do whatever I want. Well, you can, but someone might stop you and think that you're up to something else. Well, take precautions. Like, we also don't want to live in fear. Like, exactly. I'm not afraid of walking around Cuenca right now, but just, there's a balance, right? You don't want to be overly cautious, but you like living in fear. But at the same time, you don't want to be like carefree and not taking any precautions. So, that's right, and that's something that we kind of live by, is that we don't take for granted, the opportunity we have to live here, and we don't think that we can just do whatever we want willy nilly. We take the same precautions that we take anywhere else. We took the same precautions in Italy, United States, or whatever. We live like anything could happen to us at any time. And that doesn't mean you're living in fear. It just means you're being smart.
Well, the statement you brought up about getting mistaken for a worker. I get mistaken for a domestic worker all the time.
Yeah.
Even
The help.
The help.
Yeah.
Yes. Because even in when we stayed in Salinas, when I was in the condo, I was in the elevator, and I was with the door open, and the lady got in, and she thought I was there to push the button,
Yeah.
and she was like telling me the floor, and I was like, no trabajo aquí. I don't work here.
You can't press it yourself. I've never witnessed this myself, but I've heard stories of like one of my cousins went. I forgot where they went, but they stayed in a nice hotel, and they were just relaxing somewhere, and a group of this white person came up and said, telling them about a problem they had in their bathroom or something like that. And she's like, because they're black, obviously they think she's the help. It's like, and I've heard many stories like that when black people staying in nice hotels, staying in nice areas, they think you don't belong here.
Yeah, we get profiled a little bit.
That don't matter.
Yeah.
You have the brown skin. I guess that's the uniform.
Yeah,
Like,
we were at Sukasa one time, and a lady just walked up to me. She apologized, but she walked up to me and started asking me, like, she was looking for something in the store.
that's here in Ecuador?
Yeah, it's at Huayra Plaza.
Okay.
And she started talking to me, and my Spanish isn't that good, but I understood what she meant.
Yeah.
It's like basically she needed my help to find something. Like I work there, and I tell her no trabajo. And she apologized. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry, lo siento,
Okay.
blah blah blah. She was apologetic, but it's just that initial, oh, you must work here,
Yeah.
because I don't see people that look like you in the store.
Otherwise, you don't belong here.
Right.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that bad experience. She apologized, so I can accept that.
But you shouldn't assume just because someone is brown or dark skinned
of course,
that they work there, they're to help.
Of course.
So.
Yeah, it's similar to like when black people move to the U.S. or the West. There's some type of protection and privilege that you get from being a foreigner. A conversation I hear a lot is in terms of black Americans. How is it that Africans or black people from outside of the U.S. can go to the U.S. and it apparently doesn't affect them as much? And what they mean is like they're able to get into some certain jobs and certain degrees that black Americans seem to be failing at. And it's because, well, first of all, just to even get into the U.S., they're privileged relative to the other people in their country.
Yeah.
The U.S., Canada, European countries, they're letting you in because you benefit them in some way. They're not letting you in out of the goodness of their heart, because a lot of them, they don't have a heart. Okay? So, yes, and obviously they're going to promote you because if you step out of line, you could be sent back.
Yeah.
They can't do that as easily with black Americans. That's why, I don't know if you know, just talk about history a little bit. With Marcus Garvey, they deported Marcus Garvey because they could, but with Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, they were American citizens. They couldn't deport them.
Yeah.
So that they had to take care of them in other ways. So
Yeah.
that's just one, like, to realize that as black foreigners here in Ecuador, we'll experience racism, but we have that buffer of security or safety, like I did in that video and the times I was there. So
Yeah. I think a lot of people in the United States forget how difficult it is for a foreigner to immigrate to the United States.
yeah, they don't realize it. Yeah,
Right, especially how hard it is for someone from like what the U.S. consider like third world countries or whatever. Like, it's extremely difficult. I remember when I worked in Kuwait, I worked with a lot of guys from India. And they would tell me about, India, different parts of India. And I usually need to come visit. And this is back in 2010, and I was a little more ignorant to like the process. I would ask them like, well, why haven't you guys ever tried to come to the United States? Like they all said they want to visit the United States. They love it. Well, they love to. And they all said the same thing. Like it's almost impossible.
it's not just the U.S. It's most Western countries. The
Right.
EU is the same way. Canada, Australia, yeah.
And they said that the process is incredibly difficult. Like the best way to do it is have a family member there who can like sponsor you, whatever. But it's still either really expensive or just really difficult to process. And I think that like a lot of American citizens are in a situation where they feel like, oh, these foreigners they're just flooding in. It's not nearly the flood that you really think it is.
Yeah.
Because it's not that easy, and that's why people come illegally.
Yeah.
So that's a whole another conversation. But yeah, it's not nearly as easy as it seems. And those maybe Africans who immigrate to the United States, maybe they themselves feel a little privileged because they are, honestly.
Yeah.
They're here to be like doctors and maybe lawyers or like technicians or whatever.
Yeah.
And in some professions, so yeah, they may have a little bit of privilege that they're taking advantage of, but it's still not as
down on black people because they're thinking like we're not working hard, we're not doing.
That's what we're gonna
another
get,
thing is they don't have the legacy of racism in the U.S. Like they don't have the legacy of redlining, discrimination
Right.
in the banks and stuff like that. When they're coming there, that Black Americans do.
Right, and they don't. So they're privileged, like they don't understand why it's difficult for Black Americans to achieve what they're achieving.
Yeah.
It's weird when you think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like they don't understand our situation, and on the flip side, a lot of Black Americans don't understand that person's journey, like how hard it was for them to do what they did.
Yeah. That's why divide and conquer is such a powerful tool.
Such a powerful thing, yeah.
And that attitude of the Black Americans, I think it's stronger in what we call the FBA, Foundational Black Americans, the ones who say they've been in the U.S. For many generations. Because if that's the case, you don't have any family members from outside of the U.S. that try to come in. I don't think that people with family members outside of the U.S. have that attitude as much because they know how hard it is for their families to come. Like I'm thinking of my family members, what they have to go through to go from Jamaica to Canada. All of us, we won't have that negative attitude towards that.
Yeah. I guess it's one of those things where we don't. A lot of Black Americans, we know of discrimination in the United States that systematically made us poorer than other races. So, just for an example, my granddad served in World War II. He got injured in World War II as a Black man on a ship. He didn't have the same opportunity to have VA home loan, when he left the military, or the GI Bill, which was like excluded Black men back then. So he was basically poor his entire life. So like, what does that lead to? It leads to like your family being poor, and then their family maybe being poor. Like, it's a generational thing that a lot of people take for granted. This is my lifetime. Like I remember my granddad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there are people who maybe of different races who don't understand that. They're like, well, how come your parents and grandparents grew up in the ghetto in the projects? Like, well, because your granddad got a chance to have a VA home loan and a GI Bill to go to school for free. Like, they don't get that. It was like because it's so long ago for them, but for us, it's painful. So it doesn't seem like it's that long ago.
Yeah. When it helps out Black people, it's just like welfare. And stuff like that. But when it helps out white, like as you said, the white landowners, it's like a stimulus package. It's like helping out the economy.
Right. It's looked at totally different.
Yeah.
And it's the systematic things that I guess like you said, they've divided us over the years.
Yeah.
You start to change people's opinions. You start using, religion. You start using like where they live and all different kinds of things.
You know about the Willie Lynch syndrome?
I know Willie Lynch, but I haven't heard that.
So basically, very quickly, what it is Willie Lynch syndrome is you use anything to divide people, like anything to separate people into groups. It doesn't matter how small it is. So the Willie Lynch syndrome is basically Black people putting ourselves into subcategory, basically making any excuse to separate or divide ourselves.
Ourselves, yeah.
Yeah. So the story goes, I don't know if it's a true story, but the story goes that there was a slave master named Willie Lynch, and it's called the Willie Lynch letter. You guys could look it up. So he basically came up with this program or this way to divide the slaves, because like when the slaves are united, they're stronger, they can rebel more. So he's like, okay, use any little thing to divide them, put them into any little group. No difference is too trivial. So separate like the light skin from the dark skin, boys from girls, tall versus short, anything. I didn't encourage the audience to look that up, and you guys, it's called the Willie Lynch letter.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm saying this because when we come down here to Ecuador, I don't want us to have that same mentality towards the black Ecuadorians.
Exactly. And I've said this before that we can be our own worst enemies.
Yeah.
Like we have enough enemies already, but we tend to like fight amongst ourselves. I always say that like whenever we want to do something, you can't get 3 black people to agree on something.
3.
It would be a great thing if we could actually just come to an agreement on like something.
As you said that, I just thought of a joke that I heard a while back. It's like, if you ask, I'll take the number that you said, 3 black people. If you ask 3 black people at a time, what time is it? You get 3 different answers. You can't even agree on the time.
We can't. There's always something. And this is a theory I've had. I've said this to LaShawn a few times, that I really believe that because during slavery, black people were basically bred and categorized the same way that people breed dogs and horses or whatever. You do temperament and things of that nature, right? It behooved a slave master to have the most subservient slaves. Mm-hmm. Well, how do you do that? You breed out the ones, or you kill the ones that rebel, that have opinions opposite to what you want them to believe, and you encourage snitching, basically. So if someone was planning some kind of escape or anything on the plantation, you want slaves to come and tell on that guy.
Yeah.
Right? Well, what does that lead to? It leads to like a generational jealousy. So you got the ones who are in the house and the ones who are out in the field. Which, like you said, separation, number one. Throughout generations, that just breeds people who are about themselves and not letting someone else get more than them.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like a remnant of breeding back during slavery. That like, for whatever reason, we hate to see someone else do good. Not all of us, of course, not all of us, but like in general, like it's a thing. Like jealousy is really a thing. When you listen to rap music, like it's making people mad at you is like the biggest thing you can do in the black community. I want people jealous of me.
Yeah.
For what? Like you don't have to have the biggest car and rims and nice. You don't have to. But for whatever reason, we feel like that's a thing that we have to do to show out. Yeah. And make other people jealous.
Yeah. There was also something else during slavery called, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, it's called meritorious manumission. Meritorious manumissions or something like that.
We'll find it.
Yeah. And basically what it did is you could basically gain freedom if like you either stopped a slave revolt or you saved a slave master's life. There's a bit more to it than that, but that's in general what it was.
Yeah. It behooved them to have subservient slaves. So I feel like that hasn't been bred out of us yet. Not all of us. No. Where it's just, why does that person have one more French fry than me? Yeah. And I worked in jails and facilities for years, and I've seen it at its worst. You will literally start a riot if someone has more fries on their tray than someone else. Like, come on, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? This is where we are, and I think that like we really have become our own worst enemy. And instead of like you said, coming together, just come together.
Well, we embrace the division.
Right.
And division over foolishness. Like going back to my time analogy, you ask 2 different people, what time is it? One person says it's 6:15, and another person will say, no, that's not true. It's 6:15. Right. And then we'll start whole movements on which side you're on, the 6:15 side or the 6:15 side. It's like,
yeah, this is, I don't know. I feel like this is with all the other issues that face people of African descent all over the world. Yeah. Like, this is the one that we could fix. You know what I'm saying?
That's
like
the cause of it. Yeah.
Right. Like this is the one thing that we can actually fix. people not disliking us for whatever reason.
Yeah, without boycotting, without going in the streets, without
Right.
holding up
Just,
signs.
oh,
Yeah.
well, how about we just all agree on something?
Yeah.
Imagine that. Anyway, folks, we hope that opened the eyes a little bit. Not to put a negative, look on the country as a whole, but just something to be aware of. And stay tuned. We'll try to do a follow up on this as soon as possible. And big thank you to Timbo again for coming back. His trip is winding down, and he'll be headed back to Canada soon. But this isn't the last time we'll be talking to him. So once again, thanks for watching, and we'll be back soon.